Thank you, John. I'm going to add some more data to the debate. My role is to be controversial, ask questions which colleagues could answer during the day. And also through research, we try to really challenge some myths about reshoring. Last year we talked about productivity the same way. The whole purpose is to really take the debate to the next level, where we talk about facts, we talk about what has been going on in the marketplace for the last few years, and see that as a trend going forward too. And I have to specially thank ERA Foundation for some of the research we did leading up to National Manufacturing Debate to collect the facts. This was done by 4 MSc students over a 3-month period. So these are the MSc students who did the study. Myself and Dr. Patrick McLaughlin, we were academic supervisors for this. And we do that since last year to inform NMD about the context with some real numbers. Let me start with this video. Now, John, you talked about 30 billion by 2025. Here is a page, February, 17th of February this year, talking about 15 billion to UK economy. So ambition is great. And as you also rightly mentioned, we are about trickling at the moment. It needs to expedite. And that's what I would like to touch on. I would also like to touch on when we have millions of government spent through AMSCI, Advanced Manufacturing Supply Chain Initiative, to UKTI funding, Innovate UK funding, MAS, Manufacturing Advisory Service, EEF, everybody is trying to help. What happens when that money, initial government investment is over or reduced? How do we sustain reshored manufacturing? So when a company brings manufacturing back today, is it going to stay in the country 10 years from now, 20 years from now? That also we should be thinking at the same time. It's about sustainability of reshoring. And I'm going to touch on that during my presentation too. Before that, let me actually play this little video for you. It should be interesting.
Just look around your home and you'll find things once made abroad which are now manufactured in Britain.
But I believe we have the chance to become something else. In recent years, as I've said, there's been a practice of offshoring where companies move production to low-cost countries. We've all seen it, we all know it's true, and we all know it will continue. But there is now an opportunity for the reverse. There is an opportunity for some of those jobs to come back. But for reshoring to happen, we need to build on these foundations. And that means settling once and for all 2 key arguments that risk undermining our competitiveness. First, on the overall business environment, and second, on the need for cheap and predictable sources of energy.
We are going to touch on business environment, building on the view you have just heard, and also what John mentioned, that business environment is going to play probably the biggest role in attracting business back into the country and retain it. That's the biggest challenge. We also talk about job creation. We should not underestimate. It's not just about revenue. We are very keen for job creation through reshoring too. And here is an example of reshoring of manufacturing could create 37,000 jobs in Yorkshire itself. That's the scale people are talking about. Aim of this study is to identify patterns within publicly available data on reshoring production to the UK, capability and required to sustain reshoring. That's the ambition, that's the aim for this research. We used all public information already. We looked at last few years. Actually, we looked at data about offshoring too, for 25 years. What is published in the public domain, both in academic journals, but also in newspapers. We studied all articles published about offshoring for 25 years, and also reshoring. And here is some kind of trend. Offshoring, certainly more popular, is around for a long time, and you can see here, it started, sort of 86, started picking up, and that's how it's growing. It's grown really rapidly in the country. That's offshoring for you. And this is reshoring. You can see here, since 2009, it started growing. Now what it shows, people are talking about reshoring in press, in public media, in trade magazines, trade journals, as well as academics are doing research in these areas. So reshoring is becoming a common investigation across multiple stakeholders. In my presentation, I'm going to talk about offers that attracts business, but also capability. This is actually the crux of one of the things I would like to hear today. What national capability do we need to sustain reshoring for a longer period? That's really important going forward. And we should be thinking about now rather than 10 years later. We studied about 200 journal papers. These are academic papers, research papers, 933 media articles, about 10,000 overall mentions in Factiva database, which captures all types of trade magazine and articles. And we had small questionnaire-based survey too. Now let me start giving you some results. This is about top 10 offers that attract reshoring in academic journal papers. People do not really identify cost as #1 priority. It's quality that affects reshoring. It's better management and control that affects reshoring. These are people who has done research in this area and have identified these in their articles. Better supply service is an important factor, and you can see the rest. We can try to look at newspaper articles, trade articles. And you can see here, there are similarities. Top 3 are similar. But then there are some distinction as you go above that. But innovation environment itself plays a big role. And that's where Innovate UK comes in. I was very interested to hear your comments about Innovate UK. We need to do everything we can to bring that innovation in our business ecosystem. And that's fundamentally important going forward. Just to highlight, energy cost was ranked 5th in media and 9th in journal. So there is a bit of excitement about energy cost. Newspaper articles talk more about energy cost, but research shows actually it's in the 9th place in ranking. I just want to highlight these facts to you. We also did a survey within the 3-month period only with companies who have reshored, and we had some responses. They showed something slightly different. When you talk directly to people who have reshored, they said it's shorter lead time is the most important thing for them. And then comes supply service. Now, supply chain and availability of strong supply chain in the country is a big factor to support reshoring. better customer satisfaction, less transportation cost, better innovation environment. So that's their ranking. So if you combine these, better supply service, which is about availability of the supply chain, is #1 priority to affect reshoring. We saw some example of that when Automotive Council did a great job in mapping automotive supply chain, and I believe that has significantly contributed in developing our automotive activity in the country. We need to do that for other sectors. We need to do that for aerospace. We need to do that for defense. We need to do that for other major sectors like pharmaceuticals. We need to really understand where is the supply chain and where is the gap. That gap needs to be filled. And that's where industry and government can work together. Second most important is better quality. Third, innovation environment. Fourth, better management and control and transportation. Then comes costs. Then we looked at what's the difference between aerospace and other sectors. Is there a sectoral difference in this preference? And actually, if you look at better supply service, you can see aerospace and oil and gas are the two most demanding sectors who want best in all these factors, highest demand on all these factors. When it comes to price, you can see here material cost, over here food and drink, they demand most. They expect food and a price being the major driver than compared to other sectors. And that's quite obvious. But what I was very keen to say that oil and gas sector and aerospace are the most demanding sector when it comes to factors that affect reshoring. One thing I was very keen to find out, how many of the small number of companies we talk to actually want to retain manufacturing in the country? And you know what? Within that small sample, 33% were not sure whether they will actually keep it in the country. And this is a challenge for the government. This is a challenge for us as academics, industry, all have to work together to make sure that manufacturing stays in the UK. This is fundamentally important. By the way, it's not a dig against government. I think there's a communication issues. 83% of that small number of people said they did not really receive significant government support. I am aware, actually, there are a number of government initiatives going on, but there is a communications gap here, probably, where we are not reaching out and telling people, especially people who have reshored, if they're saying, I didn't receive any support from government, I think there's something to think about. Then we looked at kind of mapping between offers, that means factors that affect reshoring, and national capability we need. If you look at business supply service, which is essentially about supply chain gaps and supply chain support, availability of supplies, it very much depends on business culture as a national capability. And we try to do this mapping through academic literatures as well as talking to industry, and through the analysis, and this is the final summary of 6 top capability we need in the country to sustain reshoring. Number 1 is business ecosystem. This is related to the supply chain. Business culture, these two are directly linked. And I will talk about some of this when I show you relative position of UK compared to other countries. There is a report available public domain on doing business, and we try to use that data to tell you where we stand on some of these things. Customer location, by the way. Like when we are talking about defense procurement, I'm always, and in fact I was challenged by many people that I'm always talking about using public procurement to support manufacturing in the country. We don't do enough. We need to find a way to support growth in industry through public procurement, whether when it's defense, when it's NHS. These are our strategic areas. We do more in defense, but I would like to see we do significantly more with our NHS funding, which is about 10 billion spent on equipments every year. And we don't utilize that to create industry in the country enough. Having the customer in the country is one of the biggest national capability you can have. If there is no demand, companies are not going to come. So demand has to be created. That's simple. And one way to create demand is using public spending. And that needs to be really thought through properly so that we work with our European colleagues and we play our part being advanced European partner in dealing with some of these legal issues, but at the same time, we should be mindful of the business dynamics within other countries. How does it happen in France and Germany? Anecdotally, we do see that France and Germany do support local manufacturing using public procurement. Because you know what? We have investigated that partly with a legal team, and the conclusion is there is significant emphasis on social contribution, part of the decision making to select suppliers when it comes to public procurement in those countries, which we do not do. We do decisions based on economic judgments only. We need to think about other factors that should be considered. Labor skill and availability, not just level of skill, but availability, number of people available in the workforce is very, very important. You know, we are talking about reshoring. Actually one gentleman asked me a question. Okay, if all these things come, do we have the resources to support it? Can you actually support this growth? We are already seeing tension between sectors when it comes to, for example, welding engineers, between aerospace and nuclear. You know, salary is going up, good for us, good for engineers, but actually, is that sustainable for the industry sector as a whole? These are the difficult questions we have to answer. Resource cost and availability, that includes energy cost. Energy cost needs to be looked at significantly. We are way above, as John rightly mentioned, in Europe. Regulation actually came up the lowest of the six. So we are not that bad, but that's something still we need to keep an eye on. Some of the figures about taxation, we are doing reasonably well. Taxation has gone down over the years in the UK. And you know the GDP numbers. But let me also show you the inflation is down over the years. And that has helped. And in fact, we heard last few days inflation is going negative. But when it comes to electricity prices, energy cost, we need to do more. There's a big differential with others here. You can see here, Germany is probably ahead of us in terms of being more expensive, but we need to look at our competitors, other countries. Salary. We looked at salary. This is the data from, again, Conference Board 2013. You can see the relative comparison between Germany, United States, and United Kingdom. And that differential, in social well-being point of view, is very good too. And I'm going to come back to it. So we don't necessarily want our income to be driven down, our salaries to be driven down. And that's one thing I'm going to urge when I come to reporting our well-being index. Regulation environment, I think we are average here. Now, next few slides, I'm going to mention our collaboration with Reshoring initiative in US. Harry Moser is here. Harry is sitting at the back. He is the instrumental, he's the president of Reshoring initiative in US. And they were very kind to make their software available for customization to be used within UK, which we are going through. And by 1st of June, we would like to launch it this site under Reshoring. So National Manufacturing Debate Reshoring will give free access to the software, which is essentially work of Harry in particular, but we are customizing it to be used within the UK for free to British industry. This is Cranfield's contribution, Cranfield's commitment to support. With a disclaimer, we don't take the liability of the software use. And nor does Harry wants to take any liability. We are also going to publish all the data I mentioned here. Everything is public domain and it's for free for people to use. And that's the website. It will be available, all of that working by 1st of June. That's our launch date. Last year, I introduced manufacturing well-being profile. One of the main reasons I did that, manufacturing is not just about economic activity in the country. It's about actually well-being of people. It's about ambition of people, their mental health of people. This is directly linked, and we should not think about this separately. So we introduced a profile, and this is the kind of profile we go through. I will show you the difference between last year and this year. This year, average income growth has gone up. So there is growth in salary in the country, in manufacturing sector, compared to other sectors. But there is a bit worrying that there is also work-related ill health has gone up. We should be careful about that. I mentioned about well-being. In well-being, we support income growth because that's part of what we contribute to all of us. We need that. We also want to have mental health. By the way, this has improved since last year. This positive contribution, and you know what? I really think this cross-sector, cross-party agreement on supporting manufacturing is really working with people. And people have more respect on politics and politicians as a result, that they can work together for national reasons. And that's commendable. And it's affecting in people's views. People are feeling better. This is a comparison with US, where US is way ahead, well, slightly ahead on safety concerns when it comes to manufacturing. And by the way, UK is doing very well in other things when it comes to well-being in the manufacturing sector. Let me conclude. Top 3 factors that attract reshoring: supply service, quality, and innovation environment. Number 2, aerospace and defense and oil and gas are the most demanding sectors for reshoring. When it comes to national capability, UK needs business ecosystem and culture, and that includes taxation, which we are strong. That includes a business environment where government, industry, and all other stakeholders like academics can work together better, which personally my view is much better today than I saw last 10, 15 years. So well done to all the partners in that. Customer, I go back to my statement about public procurement. I think government is not doing enough in using public procurement to create industry base in the country. That has to change. Labor skill and availability, we are making progress in that, but I would like to see we do more. Resource cost and availability and regulation. And finally, manufacturing well-being profile says our income growth has improved compared to other sectors in last year. But work-related ill health has increased too. I would like to see that as reversed when we report next year. At this point, let me introduce and launch this white paper, which is the work of the students. It's already available in your pack. Please have a read. It gives you some of the data, and if you want raw data, you can get it from the website. Thank you.